Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2018. It is August the 5th. It is 5 o'clock in Las Vegas, where it is 128 degrees right now. Not really, but that means it is 8 o'clock on the East Coast and outside of Pittsburgh, where Alex Kozora is fresh off of a Sunday rainy trip to Latrobe. Alex, happy Sunday.
I wish I could say the same, Dave. A little drenched today. It was not supposed to rain at all. Me, the idiot that I am, did not even bring my waterproof pen and notebook, and it starts pouring. And what a mess of a last day before you kind of start getting into kind of the break of camp. 10 days, 11 practices. But honestly, the last 2 days have been pretty light for the players. Yesterday, in shells, I bet you Tomlin wishes they were in pads now, and today with only 25 plays because of all the rain and the lightning.
Let's see, this was the 10th practice, right?
Mm-hmm. This is the big bulk of it.
Okay, and that means we have, let's see, they're off on Monday. They're going to work Tuesday. They will have an off day or a closed day on Wednesday. They'll have the game on Thursday. Back at it, are they off Friday or are they back at it Friday? Do you know?
No, it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with the final 4 days of camp off the game.
Oh, okay. So we got 5 practices left then.
Yes, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
All right. Before we get started here, Alex, I want to make sure we give us special front end of the show. Reach out to Lynn Tester from Touring Plans. A lot of people hear us talk about him, but Lynn and Touring Plans, his company, this is like 4 or 5 years now. He's been kind of the primary, or has been the primary sponsor for you going to training camp. Now, of course, people are able to tip, and we have the GoFundMe page set up for you as well too. But Lynn, pretty much what he donates really goes to all your, I guess, your gas fund and maybe some eating expenses as well too. So our listenership has been so good recently about getting on Twitter and reaching out and telling Spreaker that they switched over to the show and downloading that app here. For those of you that have time and on the Twitter machine, reach out to Lynn at Lynn Testa, LENTESTA, either that account or at Touring Plans, TOURING Plans, all one word, and at Lynn Testa, one word. Either one of those accounts, and thank him for sponsoring this show. Again, we want to make sure that we're giving him the proper reach out and all, and make sure you're visiting touringplans.com as well to make sure if you have any needs as far as travel goes, and especially if you're going to Disney. So I got all that right, correct, Alex?
Yep. No, I have to thank Len a ton. He's been helpful for camp, helpful for the Senior Bowl. He's been an awesome supporter of the site, a great friend of the site. So yeah, please thank him. I would sincerely appreciate if people reached out to him and make sure that he feels appreciated, because he should be.
All right, and as you noted on the Twitter machine earlier before we got on, about 25 plays today. The weather broke things up. Mike Tomlin likes that, I think, because he likes to see how they react when things don't go as planned and when they have to stop. And he seemed to be happy after practice today, talking about how they the level of intensity and all, how they were able to get back at it right away. So I don't know how much hyperbole is, as I like to say, that is, but I mean, he looked generally happy, considering that there were interruptions today of how they got back at it. Now, to my understanding, it was mostly only goal line and short yardage work today. I'll kind of turn it over to you and let you kind of tell us what happened during those 25 plays.
Yeah, really, again, not a whole lot. I thought the defense probably largely won the day, especially in the run game. The goal line session, 6 plays of that. Defense won that 4-2. Dangerfield, Golden, Fort, Vatakevich had some big stops in that session. So I think the defense kind of won the day there. Offense did win 7 shots, 3-2. Usually it's 7 plays, only 5 today because it was such an abridged practice. But I thought overall the run defense probably went to the running game went to the defense overall as the winner. The passing game was almost non-existent to play today. I think they threw like 6 or 7 passes. Receivers only caught 3 of them, but Jesse James and Xavier Grimble had some nice combative catches today.
Yeah, and I think one of those with Grimble, he hit the ground and the ball came out, and the defense was were on. I think it was ruled a touchdown, and anyway, there was a lot of commotion afterwards. And Mike Tomlin, I think he had to answer a couple of questions about that after practice was over, and he said that the play kind of happened away. It was going away from him, that he didn't really see it, and all this plays into the catch rule, and they were giving the referee a hard time about surviving the ground and all that kind of stuff. So I bet it was I feel a little lighthearted moment, if you will, when that happened. So one thing I wanted to ask you, what are you seeing? Are you seeing anything offensively, scheme-wise? Look, Randy Fichtner coming in, taking over for Todd Haley. We know there's not going to be a lot of huge, probably real noticeable changes. I mean, would I like to see them maybe run a little bit more 11 personnel and or run a little bit more 12 personnel and get the tight end out there split out wide? Yeah, and I think we'll see that. But has anything kind of else stuck out to you? Personnel or scheme-wise or formation-wise that you want to share?
The tight end and their general use is the number one thing for me. Now, you probably haven't seen it as effectively without Vance McDonald, who hasn't practiced for now 7 straight sessions. But I think just getting the tight end in the slot, getting him split out wide, occasionally running some 3-by-1 looks where you have 3 receivers to a side, tight end split out to the bottom to kind of create one-on-one matchups that way. I think that's the number one thing you're going to see from Randy Fichtner. And honestly, we've been talking about that since day one. Just in the very basic install that you can kind of see those things are evident. The other stuff is a lot more minor. I think you're going to see some of the pony this year. And that might not be just a Fichtner thing. It's just they have the personnel to do it this year with Connor, developing nicely and drafting Jalen Samuels. So I think you are going to see some 2 running back looks, to get another back on the field alongside Le'Veon Bell. The third thing, I just saw it in the one practice. I can't remember what day it was, maybe Thursday. We were getting some of the weird option stuff. And, I don't know how much you're going to really do that with Ben, but they ran a couple of option plays in a goal line session. So maybe there's a specialty package they're going to throw in there to have somebody do something. I don't know. It's a small sample size, but, seeing some different things you definitely didn't see from Todd Haley. So, again, mostly the same, but a couple of differences.
You think we're going to see more of that extra tackle this year? I mean, Hubbard, of course, is gone, and injuries probably to some degree, especially when McDonald precipitated having to use the extra tackle on the end of the line of scrimmage, as a tight end. The only drawback to that is it's a tackle playing tight end.
Yeah, right.
So there's only so much that you can do. To me, it's giving the defense a little bit of an advantage in a situation like that, unless you know that you're going to be able to run in certain situations where you can use that to your advantage to maybe a smaller group across from you there. But are you seeing a lot of extra tackle work or no?
I know it's been reported. I think maybe the Trib was talking about it a couple of days ago. I saw it today. Jake Rogers came in to be a tackle eligible for the goal line work. Sidecar left to Alejandro Villanueva. I think it's largely going to be dependent on 2 things. One, the health of the tight ends. Obviously Vance McDonald situation, so the story to watch there, and the development of what I would assume would be the extra tackle. Core 4 would be my guess. Maybe Matt Filer as well. But a core 4 especially, it depends on his development and how comfortable they are with him and how comfortable he is with the offense and doing that. So I believe you are going to see it. Will it be as much as what Haley's done? Hard to say, but I think that's less about a scheme and a philosophy thing as much as it is just, do you have the right guys to run that effectively?
And mostly when we have seen that, the extra lineman has predominantly been on the right side.
Yeah, and that's probably what you're going to see again this year.
So it'll be interesting to see if what'd you think? And don't let me go down the rabbit hole too far down here because time constraints. But what'd you think about Villanueva's comments on Sirius about Okafor, and he broke out the Trent Williams reference?
Did he? I saw the comments about him being fluid. I didn't read every single part of the quote. No, I mean, Okorafor, we knew that coming out, he looked the part, and I believe that that he has the potential of becoming a starting left tackle in this league. He has the feet, he has the size, he has the athleticism. It's about obviously technique, consistency, and making sure he has that fire under him. So, I don't always put a ton of stock in the players' comments because generally they're going to be talking up a player, and Villanueva, it says nice things about everybody. But it's interesting, and I certainly think that Okorafor can become a really effective tackle in time. I think he's had a rough camp to start, which I think is to be expected, but yeah, there's definitely potential there.
Here's what Villanueva said. He said he's phenomenal. I mean, he's very athletic. It's very rare to find players that have such quick feet for his size. Reminds you, I'm not going to use the name Trent Williams, but he just moves very fluidly for his size. He's got long arms. He's a hard worker, and it's a really good addition to the group. So, he didn't want to break out the Trent Williams reference, but he did. For those that don't know, Trent Williams, of course, 6 or 7 Pro Bowls in a row now for the Washington Redskins, former first round pick, and Kevin Colbert talked about him over the weekend with Sirius as well too, talking about how versatile he is and how he's been able to work with the ones because of Villanueva's shoulder problem there, and he also went on to say that he actually has had a little bit of work at right tackle during his college career. He says he didn't think that he played much at right tackle as a freshman at Western Michigan, but as a sophomore, he was a starting right tackle, and then he flipped over to the left side, his following year there. So, definitely one of the guys we look forward to watching during the preseason there. My boy Jake Rogers, he coming along okay?
Yeah, I think it's been a good camp for him. Again, just getting the reps, getting the opportunity, playing, I think, pretty much exclusively second team. He's seen work at both tackle spots. He's done well in one-on-ones. Again, we talk about the athleticism, ability to mirror, good size, not necessarily as big as some of these other tackles in the league. He's kind of a svelte guy, kind of in the mold of a Marcus Gilbert. Kind of profile similar to Marcus Gilbert, obviously not at that level, but in a similar play style. So I still, again, not totally convinced they're going to keep 9, but I think Rodgers is very good odds for a practice squad spot.
And when you look at Chooks and comparing him to Gilbert, physique-wise,
I guess kind of similar. I mean, Gilbert's unique because he's transformed his body so much. He came in as a super sloppy 330-pounder from Florida, and I'm not sure what his weight is right now, but he carries that weight so much better than what he did coming out. This guy looks like he could be a tight end.
He looks totally different, man. I mean, and it's a shame that he wasn't on the field even more last year,
Right, and I think one big reason why he dropped all that weight was because it was Gilbert that had all the ankle and the knee problems early in his career, and some of that was bad luck, but you want to take the pressure off those joints. So Okorafor doesn't quite look like that, but he's very well put together, like you said, for being a big guy, how well he moves. You can't be really a sloppy body to be that kind of player. So he's put together well. I wouldn't say quite like Gilbert, but he looks the part of a tackle.
Okay, let's go over a little bit of housekeeping real quick, and then we're going to attack things a little bit differently today, being as how there's not too terribly much to report on the individual practice. Let's see, missing practice on Sunday. Whew, get ready. Get your pen and paper out here. Juju Smith-Schuster with a knee. Wide receiver Antonio Brown with a quad. Outside linebacker T.J. Watt, hamstring. Outside linebacker Bud Dupree, concussion. Wide receiver Marcus Tucker, ankle. Tight end Vance McDonald, foot. Cornerback Brian Allen, all I have is undisclosed on that. Cornerback Joe Hayden, undisclosed. Outside linebacker Keon Adams, undisclosed. Boy, that undisclosed must hurt. And Ramon Foster, of course, with the knee. Mike Tomlin Tomlin, I know that's a long list, and I know Alex and I have been kind of disclaiming that everybody should be happy right now. Mike Tomlin did say after practice that guys are still sorting through some day-to-day injuries. Nothing is new on that front. I anticipate us getting a number of these guys back on Tuesday. So I'm not even going to begin to speculate on which guys are going to come back Tuesday because I will be wrong and everybody will be mad at me. But we'll just have to count them up and see what the numbers say. On a positive note, Okorafor and Cody Sensabaugh return to practice on Sunday, so that's good news. Marcus Gilbert and David DeCastro, according to Tomlin, he gave him the day off. He says he knows what DeCastro and Gilbert are going to function as in short yardage and goal line situations, as he's been looking at that for a decent period of time. He thought it would be more significant to give some of those reps to the other guys. So managing DeCastro and Gilbert, that doesn't hurt my feelings to hear that. Okay, let's go position group by position group, and kind of as a 30,000 feet observation of the first 10 practices, kind of, overall thoughts, what lays heaviest on your mind, at the position group, maybe one thing that has surprised you. So let's start with offensive line.
For the offensive linemen, I guess there aren't a ton of surprises because that group was more settled in than most. Obviously the starting five, there's not going to be anything to surprise you one way or the other with that group. Okorafor's, taking his lumps, going against Dupree. But, you would expect that. You want him to go against and get those reps against a starting outside linebacker, even if, he's much maligned in Pittsburgh. He's still better than Ola Denier or Farrington Huguenin. You're going against a guy that has, tons of sacks in his NFL career. So, I think you're seeing some growing pains with Okorafor, but like I said earlier, you're seeing the potential of someone that could start, a couple of years down the road in the NFL. Jake Rogers, I think, has done well. The other guys, I want to see some more from Patrick Morris. It's just hard to see it at center. He's gotten more reps now as a second-team center. We've seen, Parker Collins do a little bit, Larson Graham, but no one, I think, it's been super consistent. So you're looking for some consistency from these guys.
All right, so open it up against Philly. You expect it to be Okorafor, Finney, Collins, Filer, Rogers?
Yeah, that sounds right. You don't think the starters will play at all?
Yeah, if they do, geez,
Pouncey won't. I know Pouncey won't, but the others might.
I hope they don't, to be honest with you. Sure. Villanueva didn't. I look back, Villanueva didn't start against the Giants last year. Pouncey didn't play. I don't think Ramon Foster played either. I can't remember, but I think it was just Gilbert and DeCastro. No, it was I think Foster, Gilbert, and DeCastro. I think they played 12 snaps in total. So you would have to think if any of those guys play, it'd be 2 or 3 of them. It'll be 12 snaps at most.
Who did you say the right guard was for your projected line? Can you go through it one more time?
Filer.
And who was at left guard?
Finney.
So actually, it's probably going to be because this happened when Pouncey sat out Friday Night Lights. It would probably be I'm trying to think. Okorafor at left tackle, Filer left guard, Finney at center. The right guard's a little up in the air. They might move Collins there, but I think they'd rather have Finney do the center snaps than Collins, and then Rogers at right tackle.
Okay,
it's my guess.
All right, so I was anticipating maybe them wanting to get Finney more work at left guard.
Yeah, so. It could be. It could go that way. But Friday Night Lights when they had Pouncey and Foster out, Finney was playing center.
I guess it. Well, we haven't seen Filer play much left guard, right? During preseason, yeah. We've seen it last year during the preseason. I think it was. You think we're going to see any Filer at right tackle?
Possible. He's gotten some work there in camp. I'd like to see him get some work there. I think he needs to get the rust off in as many positions as he can. So I think at some point we will, yes.
Okay, so definitely that'll be Matthew's job of charting that. You believe we're a couple of ways away from charting the first game. Oh yeah, and I know you guys just look so forward to charting the preseason games because of all the different numbers of guys going in and out and how enjoyable that is.
All the great TV angles for me to fight through.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, temper yourself. We're going to move to the running back position?
I mean, I think the number one name, you talk to anybody who spent probably more than 5 minutes at St. Vincent this summer, Dave, is James Conner, and how impressive he is. And honestly, I don't think it's hyperbole, as you might say, about how much he's progressed and how different he looks, both in his body type, getting a little bit leaner, and just the overall production, being able to pass protect, cashing out of the backfield. He looks smooth, natural, comfortable, total 180 from last year. Being healthy, of course, taking every single rep, not missing a practice, not missing a snap. The whole running back as a whole have done a good job of staying healthy. I know I just jinxed them, but they've done a great job of staying healthy and being available. But Connor, definitely number one. Jalen Samuels is definitely a guy that's going to make this team, or has good chance to make this team. They're going to get him involved probably more as a receiver than a runner, but they're finding ways to get him on the field. They're finding ways to get him involved, finding ways to get him on the field with the first team, to catch passes from Ben, to be in a first-team environment. So two guys to definitely watch out for that will have a role in this team, second fiddle to Bell, of course, but they're going to find ways to do, again, pony backfield, two backs in the field, get Bell split out, Connor in the backfield, Bell in the backfield, Samuel split out. You're going to see some of these guys work this year, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I want to see because Connor had some issues out of the blocking aside, had some issues catching the ball out of the backfield, concentration, and put a couple on the ground last year. So I'd like to see them kind of use him in that phase in the preseason as well. I can't wait to see him. He looks like a totally different guy, and the reports on him have been glowing, to say the least, all off season long. So I really can't wait to see him. Wide receiver. I assume you read Dr. Mel's report today on Eli Rogers.
I actually have not gotten a chance to read it. I don't know. What all did she say?
Basically, David and I talked about this the other day. Is Eli Rogers going to have to start the regular season on reserve PUP? And
Right.
her research and her expertise, she doesn't like the chances of him being ready by the start of the regular season. When you compare it to other ACL injury time periods, and the fact that he probably is not doing a lot of cutting yet, and he just hasn't even hit the 7-month mark of his recovery. So I tend to agree. I lean with her most definitely, and that's kind of what brought up the conversation with me and David the other day. So I don't think I will be surprised if Eli comes off of active PUP before the start of the regular season. So if any of you haven't read that yet, the doctor is in. Make sure you read that on SteelersDepot.com in the next day or two here. The rest of the wide receivers, what's stuck out the most, and what surprised you?
Well, I agree real quick that I think Eli's going to start the year on reserve PUP. I think that's the reason why they signed him before camp, was so they could put him on PUP and put him on reserve if they had to, because he's not done much from the start of camp till now. So, I mean, I tend to agree with you and Mel. The other receivers that are out there, Juju's going through a tough stretch. Now, some people have asked me, is Juju having a bad camp? I wouldn't say he's having a bad camp. He's having a rough couple of days. I'm sure that left knee's been bugging him. That's likely a source of frustration. The guy's been dinged up seemingly his whole entire NFL career so far. The big name, the big sleeper that's on the tip of everyone's tongues is Damon Patterson. His ability to create separation, win vertically, find the football. There have been a couple of drops sometimes where he's not able to adjust back for the football and catch outside his frame, but generally he's been well above the rest of the backup receivers, whether that's Tevin Jones or Trey Griffey, Justin Thomas. You get the idea. Patterson has definitely been above them all, and again, gotten work with the ones, playing that X position when you don't have Antonio Brown, and DHB's been in and out of the lineup, so a lot of reps for Patterson. He's been impressive as a whole, even if he's had some rough patches.
I can't wait to see that dude covering kicks.
He did it, man. He's buying in the system. That's his makeup. That's his background.
I can't wait. If he can do that, it's going to make even more. If he can do that and make a couple of catches, 8, 9 catches during the preseason, contribute on special teams, it's going to look real good on his resume there. I guess people are worried about Juju having big time disease. That's the only thing I can kind of make out of all these grumblings right now. That I guess people are thinking that his rookie season went to his head, that he's a superstar now, and it's going to his head. Look, I'm not worried about him. I'll be worried about him if there's a reason to worry about him.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, look, he last year at this time, we were worried about him staying healthy. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh yeah. He missed the first practice. He got hurt.
And then we went into the first preseason game, and like his first snap or 2 snaps into the game, he had to leave, right?
The concussion on the interception return, yep.
And so, I mean, a year ago, we're thinking, my goodness, what's going on with this kid? Now, here we are back, a nice rookie season underneath him, and people are saying, my goodness, what's going on with this kid? So,
yeah, I'm not worried. He can compartmentalize. He's going through a full camp. He didn't go through a full camp last year, so you didn't see him make the mistakes of a full camp because he didn't get those kind of reps. Now that he's been, going through it, start to mostly finish, you're going to see some mistakes, and I'm not worried about that. Certainly not on August 5th. One guy I am a little bit worried about is Marcus Tucker, a guy that I know had a ton of offseason hype from myself as well, that I don't think, again, has had a terrible camp, but has he been consistent? Has he made some of the big plays? Has he gotten involved in the team offense as much as I thought that he would and should? Not necessarily. Now he's dealing with this right ankle injury that's now, I think, going on the second or third day of practice. So that's a guy that needed some reps, especially with Eli Rogers out. Great time for him to get the spotlight, and hopefully he can play against the Eagles. If he can't, that's going to hurt his chances even more.
And I hate to dwell on it, but he's another one that's going to have to make his mark earlier in games this year than he did last year. And B, he's going to have to contribute on special teams. If not, there is no reason to keep a 6th receiver, in my opinion, especially if one of your other receivers is Justin Hunter, if they don't play special teams. I guess I wanted to kind of wrap all. That's why I brought up Eli Rogers and now brought up Tucker and Damon Patterson playing special teams. I want to wrap this kind of up in a ball for you and see what you can do with it here. Let's say that Eli starts the regular season on reserve PUP. You obviously don't have to carry him on the 53. Your final cut down, he goes from active PUP to reserve PUP. All right. Do you need to keep 5 or do you need to keep 6? And, is Hunter not going to be number 5? And if so, do you have the need to keep number 6 unless one of those can't be? I mean, we're assuming DHB is going to be one of those 5. And
yep.
he's going to help you out on special teams. I mean, to me, the way things are shaping up here, it seems like Hunter might make this 53 as a number 5, and might possibly even be inactive on game day. And if not, even if he is active on game day, is there a reason to carry a 6th?
It's a great question. So it's a $1 million question for sure. If I was doing a 53-man roster today, I would keep...
You and I have been carrying 6 this whole time, right?
Mm-hmm. I would go with 5 now, and I have Hunter as the 5th. I'd leave Tucker off of it. And again, Tucker could play his way on there. He's still on the bubble, but I mean, with all the receivers' injuries right now, he should be getting first-team reps in the slot and just being able to take advantage of that, and he hasn't. And again, not his fault, but he's not getting the chances right now. So I don't know. Let me take your temperature on it, Dave. But I'd keep 5, and Hunter would be my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how your mindset on these things can change in a matter of 2.5 weeks, right?
Yeah. Now Tucker can play some special teams, but just has he done enough overall to warrant it?
Right. I mean, people don't dress too. You got to keep that in mind.
Sure.
You got to have 7 inactives on top of that. So, are you going to keep them just to keep them? If you're keeping them because he's going to be out there on teams because Hunter's not. And I got a funny feeling when Martavis gone now, with Eli probably trending towards PUP, with Tucker not doing anything, that they might want Hunter to be that 14 snap a game Z option at the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely could be. And if you keep 5, then you can have a spot elsewhere for another special teamer, because Hunter isn't going to bring you anything there. So you could carry a 4th running back potentially to run down some kicks and do some stuff on the punt rush team, or an extra linebacker that you want to keep. So that will give you more flexibility elsewhere. So again, we'll get a ways to go here. Hopefully Tucker gets back. But yeah, today I just go with those 5.
All right, tight end, yawn.
It was fun. Well, Vance McDonald was out there. Then it got a little boring after he wasn't. It's set. It's Vance. It's Jesse. It's Grimble. Behind that, I mean, I don't know who you keep. You might go outside the organization and find someone, pluck him off of waivers. Obviously, Scotland Williamson will be the roster exemption on the practice squad. But other than that, maybe Bucky Hodges makes it for being a good athlete. And I guess we'll find out.
I mean, and that's another dude that just doesn't have the special teams resume. I mean, at least Grimble showed us he could do some blocking last year. Grimble can play a little bit. I mean, he's not going to win. He's not going to be named special teams captain, but but he'd give you a little bit something there on the, as a wing or something like that. I damn sure don't want. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one guy I don't want on the wing, Bucky Hodges.
Yeah, no blocking for Bucky.
Right. So if you're going to do that, then it's kind of hard to argue to keep him as a fourth tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, look, is Bucky Hodges the leading candidate now to be a practice squad tight end? Yeah. Is that saying much? No. Right?
Yeah. I mean, you could argue McKeever because of the developmental aspect of it, but I mean, you could take your pick. I wouldn't put up a fight with you if you want Hodges or McKeever.
All right, let's see. That's got offense, I think. Let's go defensive line.
What did you want to? Do we talk quarterbacks?
Oh yeah, well that would be important, I guess.
The big note I have is again just seeing the kind of continued progression of Mason Rudolph. Certainly. In kind of as advertised or as expected, I should say, start where it was a little rough in the beginning for Rudolph, not getting the ball out as quickly as he should and, not recognizing the blitz all the time, but putting together, I think, 3 nice practices. Even today, where they barely threw the football, had a beautiful 7 route to Jesse James. I think Tomlin was talking about it after practice today. That was right on the money, outside shoulder, away from Matthew Thomas. He was covering underneath, and Jesse finished the play. So, just being able to read the field fully. I love the way he worked the 2-minute drill yesterday, showing command and poise, getting guys up, getting the communication clean, leading his group to a touchdown. It's been getting pretty good for Mason Rudolph.
You would expect Mason to have a better preseason than Dobbs, right?
Well, again, Dobbs set the bar a little low after Dobbs had a good camp last year, but his preseason performance, that Giants game, 2 interceptions on the first 3 drives, whatever it was. We'll see, but I think Rudolph is definitely capable of having a better preseason than Dobbs did.
Okay, defensive line.
Again, I wrote about it this morning. I think you're coming down to the 6th defensive line spot. McCullers has certainly been, for me, one of the biggest surprises just because my expectations were non-existent. I just figured it was going to be another ho-hum, do-nothing kind of camp, and they'd keep him for some insane reason, or they'd finally, cut bait from McCullers. But he's impressed, and as I wrote about for Steelers Depot, I think he's playing at a backup nose tackle caliber. Not a starter, not anything like that, but he's playing as someone that deserves a spot on the 53. So it'll be him versus Josh Frazier. Greg Gilmore's been disappointing in my mind. Maybe that's because I talked him up too much, but the Steelers seem to like him as an undrafted free agent. The other guys are fairly nondescript. Levon Hooks we talked about as a maxed-out guy. A little bit from Kendall Vickers and Casey Sales. Potential for practice squad, but, if McCullers makes it, Frazier's almost certainly going to land on the practice squad. Do you keep another defensive lineman? Maybe, but probably not.
So if they were to keep 2 defensive linemen on the practice squad, who do you have in the lead for that? It would be more of a 5 tech though, right?
Yeah, if we're assuming that Frazier is one, then you're going to have an end type to be the other, and maybe Casey Sales. You could keep Hooks because he knows the defense. He's been a system guy. Those would be the top 2, but I think that's a battle that's got a long ways to go to play itself out.
3 outside linebackers on the field today.
You said Keon missed?
Keon supposedly was off today, undisclosed.
Okay, yeah, it was Huguenin, Adenier, and Chick. Give it up for Chick. He's the Jesse James. Chick loves the Jesse James of this defense, of a guy that's steady, not flashy, pretty maxed out at a fairly young age, but at least you know what you have in him. Adenier.
Is that a compliment or a backhanded compliment or both?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go with the Dave Bryan. I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to plead the fifth.
The Jesse James of training camp outside linebackers.
Is that the truth? Adenier, I knew Adenier was going to be a good pass rusher because he's strong, because he's about as tall as me, and he can rip under some of these tall tackles. So he's doing impressive things there. The issue for me is just, can he cover? Can he truly play special teams? Even watching him on some of these special teams drills, he's having some trouble covering space because he's he doesn't waddle, but he's just kind of a stockier dude that isn't going to really cover that kind of space. He's a rip and dip kind of guy. He's not someone that's going to go backwards or cover a ton of space. So that's my worry with him. Can he rush the passer? Yes, but how do you climb the ladder and work your way onto a roster and cut your teeth on special teams if you're not successful there? So he's kind of in a weird spot right now, but I think he's had a nice camp from a pass rushing standpoint. I thought Keon Adams has been impressive from a pass rushing standpoint. How quick and violent his hands are, how rare it is for him to get stuck on a block, especially as a pass rusher. How often he wins, how creative he is, and he has a pass rush plan. He's fluid in space. He's effective. He's not wasting steps and time. I'm a little worried that he wasn't getting first-team snaps when you lost Watt and Dupree. Maybe that's a message or a challenge or something totally different. I don't know. But I think, from my perspective, I think he's done well. Huguenin, a little quieter, probably a little more disappointing than what I thought he'd be. He did some nice things in the run session today, getting off blocks, making tackles, but didn't take the step forward that I kind of thought that he might.
And here's the thing. If you're going to keep 5 outside linebackers, one of them's probably going to be inactive.
Right.
More than likely, especially if it's a guy like Adeniyi. Now, you can go back to James Harrison in his early days. He made it down the field on special teams on limited roles, and let's not forget that really what we're trying to replace here is more of Arthur Mote's kind of role, right? 80, 100 snaps, 90 snaps or so, special teams wise, but probably that role is going to more so, you would hope, go to a guy like Keon Adams, right?
Yeah, I think Adams can do it well because he's a good athlete who's a good pass rusher that does not get stuck on blocks, and those are big keys to success to winning there. You got to replace Moats a little bit. You got to replace T.J. Watt as the left tackle on the punt coverage team. Adeniyi you could make inactive, and that would solve that problem. But what happens when the injury happens? Because it will. Can you trust him to take over one of those spots and play 20 snaps in a Week 7 game and do well in special teams? That's the question. We'll see. He's got the whole preseason to show, but I have my reservations about it.
All right, inside linebacker, and you cannot talk about Bostic or Matakevich or L.J. Fort. Go.
Well, I'm going to sit in silence for a couple minutes.
In so many words, I guess what I'm getting at is Matthew Thomas was the Marcus Tucker going into this camp.
Yep.
Have you seen it? I mean, we keep hearing, they got a plan. It sounds like they got a plan for him, or they really. I mean, is there anything there that you've seen that have stuck out so far about Matthew Thomas?
I think there is something there, and I was worried going into camp because I was worried about his processing. Could he read his keys? Could he show that athleticism at a high level on an NFL stage? Dave, I think that he has. I think that he's reading his keys well. I think he's able to process, and he's been able to get some penetration, some tackle for losses against the run. I think he's one of the few inside linebackers I've seen kind of pop up in coverage. He's got 2 or 3 pass breakups and an interception, which granted was on a deflection, but he has a pick this year. The other inside linebackers I haven't seen much of in coverage. They've kind of gotten beat if I note them at all. I think there is something there with Matthew Thomas, and I think he has the potential to be, again, a quality special teamer because he is a top-level athlete. Can he be consistent? Can he avoid mental mistakes? Those are the concerns with him. But I think he's answered some of those questions, and I'll tell you this, I feel a lot more confident and comfortable with Matthew Thomas than I did coming into camp.
We should see a number 14 or 15 next to his name in snap counts Thursday for special teams.
Yeah, he'll play heavily, definitely. He needs to play heavily. He needs to play well.
If we don't see that number next to him, that means he's gotten hurt or something, probably. Right. Because we need to see a lot of that. I'd really like to see him make 2 or 3 tackles in that game on special teams, because I think that would be a definite push in the right direction there when it comes to him. Okay, let's wrap it up with some defensive backs.
Yeah, again, Artie Burns has had a solid camp. Now, the precaution I put there is that I thought Artie Burns had a really good camp last year. Was the only guy. Now, granted, there was no Joe Hayden, but the only guy that could give Antonio Brown fits. And so I think Burns has helped carry that over. Does that mean he's going to have a great season? Well, obviously, last year's regular season, that wasn't the case. But I think it's been good for him. Mike Hilton's a beast. Deshaun Phillips is little mini-me Mike Hilton, even though they're the same size. They're physical, they're active, they're high-energy guys, they're capable blitzers. So I think Phillips is a guy that is going to stick around. I think worst case scenario on the practice squad. Cody Sensabaugh, I've written about him, how impressive he's been. I think Brian Allen has been a little quieter than Sensabaugh, but I think he's taken strides. He looks a lot more comfortable and confident and fluid out there, a lot more consistent. It's been a good group overall. Maybe a guy like Jamar Summers hasn't had a very good camp, but that's to be expected. Pretty quiet from Malik Reeves. He has one interception. But I thought overall, it's been a solid group that's been aggressive at the catch point. They've been able to make plays, and maybe that's a little bit of the scheme changes under Tom Bradley and working some new things with Keith Butler. But yeah, I think they've been aggressive and competitive and physical and fairly good tacklers overall.
What about Malik Golden? I mean, he was a guy that kind of flashed there in that last preseason game before he hurt himself last year. I mean, is it just going to be another also ran this year?
The numbers game is going to be tough for him. Now, Marcus Allen hasn't necessarily, impressed the way that maybe some people thought, and that's not a big negative. I mean, it's just tough to do it with the limited snap counts. But Golden's one of the only free safeties on this roster. A lot of box types, a lot of strong safety types. Burnett, Edmonds, Burhay's best at strong safety. Marcus Allen is a classic box player, but I think Golden has shown the range, athleticism, and a guy that I was high on coming into camp. Just wasn't sure about the numbers game. Dangerfield made some plays. He did it today in goal line, had a tackle for loss. We know about Terrell Edmonds. We've talked about him almost every practice. I haven't seen it as much in team sessions. So that can be the product of a safety just not being around the football. But you're seeing him one-on-ones. You're seeing the athleticism, the fluidity, the ability to cover. He covers like a corner for as big as he is. I think he has a background in corner early at Virginia Tech. So that makes some sense. But, again, I do caution some people about, James Washington, who I forgot to mention, who's having a nice camp, and Terrell Edmonds. They're having nice camps. There's no doubt about that. But people ask me, are these guys studs? Are these guys the real deal? I mean, we got to get into some game action and when they're not next to their defensive coordinator and not next to their coach getting the play call before we kind of think about it in those terms. But no doubt both of those guys, and really the whole rookie class, is having a nice camp.
Morgan Burnett starting to see more time now. Back from that early injury and all.
Yeah, he's gotten some work. It's been a small sample size because he missed so much time with the injury. I guess the last thing I would have for that group is just kind of the personnel groupings. Again, I haven't seen true dime yet. I haven't seen the 60Bs, but we've seen that 227. Could that kind of be the alternative if Bostic and Medikevich just don't stick out, the way that the team wants and needs them to. So I think you are going to see that 227. You're going to see Burnett down the box. You're going to see probably Sutton down the box. They're going to be key communicators from that group. But I'm excited because I think it's going to give you a lot of options, a lot of flexibility in your coverage attacks, in your blitz packages, just overall havoc. How do you identify the Mike when there's not a Mike on the field? So those kind of things. I think Keith Butler is going to get creative, and I think he has an interview today. I haven't listened to it yet, talking about the athleticism and creativity, and just finding a way to get all the talent you have in the secondary, because the team has a lot of talent there on the field and producing.
All right, 2/3 through camp now, through the camp practices. Give me 3 offensive winners to today's point and 3 defensive winners to today's point.
Oh, wow. I was ill-equipped for this. Connor, for sure. I think Connor would be a universal winner, even if I just had to pick across the whole team. James Washington has been super impressive. He's had, his lumps early in camp, but you're seeing why he was drafted the way that he was.
What have his lumps been?
Just some stuff early in camp where he was losing out on some contested passes, some good coverage from Cody Sensabaugh. That happened early. Just the guy that I think you made a great point of it, Dave. Ever since he's been drafted, someone that only played on the right side in college. Now he's learning how to play on the left side, playing some in the slot. So just kind of getting comfortable by playing in different splits and alignments and kind of different route trees. So nothing super obvious or egregious, but just kind of the typical rookie stuff that all rookie receivers go through. Other offensive winner, so I have Connor, I have Washington. I don't know if I'd go so far to call Rudolph in that group because he had a slower start. I wanted to put McDonald, but he's gotten hurt, so I don't know if I'd go with. I don't know who I'd go with as the third guy. I'm probably just missing someone super obvious. I give Jesse James a whole lot of credit for being out there available every day. I'll go against maybe Damon Patterson as the third, but as a clear third place because he's had some tough days.
All right, defense.
I think you have to go Edmonds. You have to hand it to Edmonds for what he's done in one-on-ones and being as advertised guy that's taking advantage of playing a ton of first-team reps that you didn't necessarily expect him to play. So you have to go with him. I'll go Artie as well. I think it's been a really good camp, and like I said, that was kind of my expectation going in, and that's not guaranteed success as we saw last year. But again, credit to him for kind of being a shutdown guy. The third winner. Who do I want to go with the third winner? Trying to think of one of the edge guys. I think Keon Adams has done well. I mean, I didn't get to watch him a lot early in camp. I just kind of missed him. But I think whenever I have gotten to watch him, I think he's always continually impressed me. So, again, kind of a clear third-place winner there. But Keon Adams, I think, has the foundation of being a good pass rusher in this league.
All right, I think it's time to put a bow on it. Hopefully, the way we kind of mixed it up today, broke up maybe the monotony of these things. I know when you and I get into these things, about 8 or 9 of them, the days start running a little bit together. But now they're going to have Monday off, so of course we won't have a show on Monday. David, Todd, and I will have our normal Terrible podcast Monday morning. Alex and I will not be back together until Tuesday night. And then that will be, I think, our last show until Friday with David, Todd, and me. And then we'll be recapping the Steelers preseason game against the Eagles. So these things are going to start thinning out a little bit, talking about these special edition podcasts moving forward because of the way the Steelers training camp schedule is. We hope you are enjoying them or enjoying them. I told you I had to get on the oxygen bottle a little bit before I jumped on this podcast today. But once again, everybody, we appreciate the listenership. Everybody who has reached out to us recently on the Twitter machine. Thank you. If you got a moment, reach out to Lynn Testa at Touring Plans as well, too, and thank him for being a sponsor of the show. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and tonight, Alex Kozora. Good night.